Hey guys, this is the S400 Red Hare by ZWQ or ZWQ in short. Thank you very much to Ideal Foam Blaster or IFB for lending me this early sample for review. Thank you very much to Alexander from Light Wizards for the tremendous help with filming the intro footage. I'm going to start off a bit different from usual with the grouping test first because I believe this is what you guys want to see. After which, I will talk about some very important things you need to know about the S400 before you buy it. The grouping test is conducted outdoors. The weather is very humid and there are light to moderate winds. I'm using my old LPVO, which is roughly 0 to hit a 30-meter target, but the windage is off to the right. The S400 is using the strongest factory 2.0 spring from ZWQ and is hitting 300 plus FPS. I'm aiming for the human-sized target center mass at 30 meters. I'm using the ZWQ 30 BCAR and blue 2.0 darts weighing 1.2 grams. The first grouping will be done with the default 44.8 cm barrel, and the second grouping will be done with a longer 55 cm barrel. With the default 44.8 cm barrel, all shots are on target with decent grouping size. Let's see how a longer 55 cm barrel will perform. By the way, this S400 blaster takes threaded barrels. Very impressive grouping within an A5 size paper. Let's do a quick comparison. The results seem to suggest that the blaster with the default 44.8 cm barrel may be slightly under-barreled with the strongest factory 2.0 spring, and a slightly longer barrel may lead to better grouping size. However, I think the default barrel should work fine with the ZWQ 1.6 spring, which is supposed to hit around 230 FPS. Now we know this S400 is very accurate with a properly zeroed sight. Let's rewind a bit and go to the unboxing, where I will talk about some important things regarding this S400 before you choose to buy it. In China and some parts of Asia, this S400 blaster is called the Red Hare. However, ZWQ also named this S400 the Zebra for the international and Western markets due to translation issues. But I prefer to call this blaster by its original name, the Red Hare, which is 赤兔 in Chinese. Red Hare is the name of a legendary horse, which was famous for its speed and strength. It was owned by the warlord Lü Bu during the late Eastern Han Dynasty, as depicted in the historical records of the Three Kingdoms. Which name do you prefer? The legendary Red Hare or the Zebra? Leave your comments below. To prevent any confusion, I will just refer to this blaster as the S400. Here's a quick look at the box and the instruction manual. Pause the video if you want to take a closer look. Here are the items that came with this early review unit. Please note that the items shown here may be different from the ones that will come with the main production batch in December. Here's the pistol grip. The blaster is compatible with most aftermarket AEB grips. slightly angled pump grip, wide magazine adapter, wide 10-round magazine, but it can squeeze in 12 rounds. Narrow 12-round magazine. It can squeeze in 13 rounds, but I think it may not be provided in the box. Here's a quick comparison between the wide and narrow magazines. Strongest factory 2.0 spring, which may be sold separately as well. Allen key. 44.8 cm threaded barrel with an inner diameter of 13 mm. An orange decorative muzzle. And of course the main blaster body. It already has the weaker spring pre-installed inside. The S400 is easy to assemble and only takes less than 10 minutes. Attach the pump grip. Attach the pistol grip. Screw in the threaded barrel, and it is done. Very good air seal. Let's start with one of the most important things I need to highlight to you: the magazine system. The S400 has two different magazine adapters for two different magazine types. The ZWQ magazines are made of PC material with TPU bumpers, and they are very sturdy and are of great quality. The first ZWQ magazine type is this white one with two spacers at the side. It looks very nice for cosplay and photo shoots, but may not be very practical for gameplay as it takes up more space in your gear and is more difficult to handle. Also, although the spacers are removable to fit longer darts, it will not be able to fit full-length Nerf darts as shown here. The second ZWQ magazine is this thinner one that looks very much like a Worker Talent magazine, and it seems to be compatible with other blasters. I tried it with the Kunlun, Harrier, Stings 2.1 and motorized piston pump, and it works great with all these blasters. But please take note that the ZWQ magazine lips are thinner than the ones on standard Worker Talent magazines, and this means a standard Worker Talent magazine will not fit into this S400 adapter. The standard Worker Talent magazine is not compatible with the S400 magazine adapter. However, there are two easy ways to solve this issue. First way is to do a very simple modification to the adapter. However, I cannot show you how to do the modification on this blaster as this is borrowed from IFB. But I can show you some snippets of how Ziqi, one of my favorite blaster reviewers, did this simple 15 minutes modification to use Worker Talent magazines in this adapter. Just unscrew and take this adapter apart. See these parts protruding out? The ones you need to cut are these two front parts. Cut it or shave it off about halfway, and the Worker Talent mags will be able to fit in. I will share footage of this modification in the future when I receive my own S400. Do take note that the magazine release pedal is at the front, which means a standard Worker Talent magazine has to be loaded in reverse. The second way is to wait for IFB. I believe IFB is coming out with a 3D printer adapter, which will allow standard Worker Talent magazines to be used the usual way. Which brings us to the loading and reloading process. Personally, I like that this pedal is very prominent and easy to press down, and it can mag drop easily. Which means I can do cool reloads by taking out a loaded magazine, slide it under the blaster and let it guide the magazine towards the pedal, tap the pedal to unload and mag drop, and then reload. Of course, more practice is needed to do it faster and better. Tactical reload is also easy. Let's move on to the rest of the blaster. The outer shell is made of PC material, and the rails and other parts are made of nylon, which makes it a very sturdy and solid blaster. Its internals are metal. It takes threaded barrels as mentioned earlier. The default barrel is 44.8 cm long and has an inner diameter of 13 mm. The priming block has 4 palm-covered metal wheels, and there are air vents at the sides of the blaster. These two features make priming very smooth and easy. The priming block has a simple yet effective detent mechanism, which helps to keep it in place at a forward position and prevents it and the pump grip from sliding backwards after priming. There are 2 screw ports at the top here, and I'm told that these are meant for the side prime handle during the prototype stage. But I'm not sure if ZWQ is going to introduce actual side prime bars for the main production batch. The pump grip is comfortable. The trigger is light. The SU is great. As you can see here, there is a lever system of some kind, which is designed to give a smoother, lighter trigger pull. I like the selector switch, which puts the blaster to safe and fire modes with a flick of the thumb or finger. By the way, after priming, the pump grip needs to be pushed all the way to the front in order to activate the trigger and fire off. If the pump grip is midway and not at the front, the trigger stays locked. This helps to ensure that every shot is consistent. By the way, this S400 is 3C certified. 3C stands for China Compulsory Certification, which is a mandatory safety and quality mark. It means that this blaster is safe for children. I tested the stock S400 with the Chronograph, and its FPS is similar to stock Nerf, which is around 68 FPS, and is definitely suitable for younger players. The prime weight is also hilariously light, and there is almost no resistance. The top Picatinny rail also functions as a carry handle. It has integrated front and rear sights which are functional. There are Picatinny and M-Dog rails at the sides. Warning labels are printed on the plunger tube. The words made in China are molded on one side, and ZWQ S400 Zebra molded on the other side. The cheek rest is a nice touch and adds some aesthetic contrast on the blaster. The butt pad is made of a softer material with grooves and is comfortable to shoulder. Rifle sealing slots are at the back, and there is also a molded ring at the left side of the blaster for rifle sling hooks. To swap springs, simply remove 5 screws from the front here to remove the front cover. As there is no resistance in the stock spring, just take out the front cover and slide the priming block out. But if a heavier spring is used, it is best to be careful and apply some pressure to the front cover to prevent the spring from shooting out with the priming block. To do periodic maintenance and access the plunger rod and other internals, the blaster shell will probably need to be opened up by unscrewing the other screws at the back. It seems that the plunger rod cannot be taken out easily from the front, but here is a picture of it. I will do a follow-up video with modifications to my own S400 blaster when it comes, and we'll also open up the blaster to showcase its internals next time. Here is a closer look at the detent mechanism. There is a simple plastic tab with a spring at the inner top portion of the shell, which pushes out into the indent on the priming block and holds it in place. After putting in the strongest factory 2.0 spring, there is quite a bit of pre-compression, and I had difficulty closing the front cover. So, I decided to prime the blaster first. After the blaster is primed, I screwed the front cover back, pull the pump grip back and forward again to slide the top bar into the back of the blaster, and then press the trigger. I am not sure if this is the correct way to do it, but I guess if it works, it works. The prime is very manageable for a 300 plus FPS blaster and is definitely lighter than a Walker Harrier. Here are some more details regarding the S400. It measures about 60 cm with the default barrel, which is extremely compact. It weighs about 1.2 kilograms with the magazine in, and is definitely one of the lightest high-performance blasters I've ever used. It has a plunger air volume of 130cc, which is about the same as the Stings 2.1. It has a reasonable stroke length of about 11 cm. Here are some chronograph test numbers with the strongest factory 2.0 spring. And here is a summary of the results with 1 gram regular worker darts for reference and with 1.2 gram blue 2.0 darts. The longer 55cm barrel has a slightly higher FPS than the default 44.8cm barrel. Combined with the grouping test results, they seem to suggest a performance increase with a longer barrel. So, what do I think of this S400 blaster? I have two very minor gripes. The first one is obvious, which is the magazine adapter that forces us to use ZWQ magazines instead of our own existing standard worker talent magazines. I understand that some of you, like me, will question the decision makers regarding its proprietary design and see it as a problem. But this can be easily overcome with a simple mod as shown earlier. However, standard worker talent mags will still need to be reverse loaded, which is really not a big deal for me. But with the IAB's 3D printed magazine adapter in the works, this should not be an issue very soon. The second minor gripe is that this early review sample seems to be prone to scratches. Even with normal usage and handling, I noticed orange flakes of paint coming off from the orange shell. I have provided feedback to ZWQ via IFB, and ZWQ assured us that this will not be a problem for the main production batch. Moving on to the pros about the S400. This blaster is currently on pre-order for 160 Singapore dollars at IFB. That makes it one of the cheapest injection molded high-performance foam dart blaster I have ever seen. Its performance is great as shown from the grouping test. It is so compact and lightweight. It is definitely suitable for competitive gameplay, and even younger players should be able to prime it easily with the weaker springs. The prime is very smooth and does not squeak like a 3D printed blaster. The blaster feels strong and sturdy. This blaster looks great, and it comes in orange, white, grey, and clear. Of course, I cannot judge the longevity of the S400 with the highest powered spring, as I have not stress tested the blaster enough. Most high-performance blasters, including previous ones like the Harrier and Kunlun, will fail at some point, which is to be expected. But I guess the consumable components should be available separately from ZWQ at some point if needed, when the time comes. But there are just so many good things to say about this S400 blaster that I feel that this may be the overall best injection molded Springer blaster of 2025. Great price, great performance, and it is a Bullpup. There is just no competition. I can safely say that this S400 is definitely a Harrier killer and potentially a Slings 2.1 killer. I will do a comparison video on this next time. Also, I heard that ZWQ will be sharing and releasing the S400 blaster files publicly online. This will allow makers from the Nerf community to edit and improve the blaster's design, which is definitely a win for everyone. Looking forward to the community designs inspired by this ZWQ S400 in the near future. If you found this review helpful, do check out my other videos linked over here. Thank you and see you.